Hi there, welcome to The Path of Purpose, a podcast where we, Desiree and Adam Davis, share our journey as high school sweethearts navigating the ups and downs of marriage and life.
Over the years, we faced some real challenges, moments that tested our love, our faith, and our commitment. We've learned that love isn't just a feeling, but it's an action, a choice you make every single day.
Exactly, and we're here because we know we're not alone. Marriage isn't always easy, and it can feel overwhelming when life throws curveballs. But we also believe that through grace and hard work and a whole lot of faith, any relationship can grow stronger.
So guys, that's why we started The Path of Purpose. We want to help other couples by sharing the lessons we've learned, what's worked, what hasn't, and how we've managed to grow closer despite the challenges.
Yes, so whether you're newlyweds, seasoned partners, or just looking for some encouragement, we're glad you're here. Together, we'll dive into real life topics, from communication and forgiveness to overcoming trials and building a faith-centered marriage.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Path of Purpose podcast with me and Desi. We're super excited about the first episode. I hope you guys got a lot of good information out of that. And come on, share with your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear what you have to say. Today, we've actually had a lot of, again, Messenger comments, right?
Yes.
Right, through the good old Facebook Messenger. And so today we're going to discuss, what was the topic that was requested?
In-laws. And
In-laws.
how Adam and I have dealt with each other's in-laws.
Understand it's not easy, right? New relationship. You get families that come from different walks of life. Ours are polar opposite. And full disclosure, we've got great families. We love our parents, our siblings. I love my in-laws. They've been awesome. But right, in any new relationship, you have struggles that, we face. So what do you think was the biggest struggle, when we first started dating? Your family didn't really communicate with my family. We were just kids. You were 15, I was 17. So, what do you think really hit you the hardest?
Gosh, I am so scared to talk about it, to be honest with you. I really want to just say that, this is my story and my perspective. And I don't want to hurt any hearts ever. That's not what I want to do. And so when we first started dating and I was receiving so much hate, I didn't know how to internalize it. I didn't know what to do with it. And all I did was react back to it and try to defend myself against false accusations, against just trying to prove that I was not who they were saying I was, and that I was worthy of being your partner. That was the hardest part for me was, even in school, my teachers loved me. It was the first time I had experienced not being liked, not being accepted. So.
Well, and again, we were kids. I just turned 17. You just turned 15. And I know we talked about this all the time. What if we would have met in our early 20s or mid 20s, right? Mm-hmm. How much of this would we have avoided, right? Because not only were we kids, but our siblings were kids. I mean, I think your sister was what, 6?
No, she was 8.
8 years old when I started dating you.
Yes.
Your brother was 12 or 13 or something like that.
Yeah, he was 13.
Yeah, and my brothers were 15 and 18, I think, maybe. We were all young, right? And the whole dynamic of our relationship at the beginning, right? It wasn't an easy relationship. And so I think coming into that, when you've basically got broken people on both sides, right, it caused the conflict. But from my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think the viewers want to understand how or what our advice would be or what we have done in our adulthood with, overstepping with family members and, the conjoining of different families, right? And so, you know, I guess my biggest take back from all of that, and again, I'm trying to eliminate the childhood situation of everything and the immaturity. Coming from a mature standpoint, had we have dated in the, late 20s, boundaries, right?
And how we would have reacted or not reacted differently. Yeah. So, but one thing I want to point out is we came from two opposite lifestyles. Um, I had parents that suffered with addiction, and then my dad was not as part of my life that I wanted him to be. I saw him not that often. And then and they were divorced, and they got a divorce at when I was like 4 years old. And the memories that I had of my parents together were very, very bad memories. And then they both remarried. And so then the growing up in that division, I never really had proper education, I guess, or a good example of what it looked like, healthy wise, to communicate uh, with your partner, and boundaries, how to set boundaries. I was never taught any of those because my parents weren't taught those things either. And
I think we've come up with a word for that, and it's emotional immaturity, right?
yes.
Yeah.
And a lot of the way my family would deal with things, and we were talking about this earlier, is um, it was physical fighting. It wasn't we're going to sit and talk and I'm going to listen to how you feel and then you're going to be heard. It was not like
You
that.
guys did not communicate.
We did not communicate.
I feel like we were able to obtain guidance, right, from my parents that I know that you probably didn't have. But that's kind of a different topic, as to what
Well, the
we're.
reason why I bring that up is because of I want the viewers to understand the backstory of um, what I believe was my main issue in it, and that was my reactions. So when I would experience what I would define as hate, not acceptance, because of my background, I wanted to prove that I was not this person that they were describing to be, or describing me out to be. I was worthy of being your girlfriend and starting a future with you, and that, um, but I was constantly in this cycle of defending myself, proving my worth, and all this, and all it did was led me to a place of just complete depletion, and um, it would just go in circles and circles and circles and constant hurt. And what I wish I would have done differently, and how I would react now, is I should have walked away.
There's nothing wrong with walking away. We were talking about this earlier that, we were saying that, when we're talking about in-laws in our inward relationship, there was a lot of hostility.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of attack, right?
Against each other?
No, from an outside force. So,
Oh, yes.
In-laws, and I'm just going to jump it in-laws. There was a lot of attack between you and I. And, you're saying your biggest advice is, walk away. And there's nothing wrong with that. Basically, what we were discussing is there's no room for hostility, especially from an outside force in a relationship, right? You talk about it that, when you becoming a relationship, right? A man and a woman, it's not just a friendship, right? So it's like, me as a father, Bowen gets 10, 15 years old. He's got a friend that's not a very good influence. I'm going to have that conversation with him, right? My son gets a girlfriend, right? I want to respect their boundaries in their relationship because that's something they're building together. And so, I wanted to walk away
Mm-hmm.
multiple times. And I told you this is not acceptable. Um, Obviously, you had a different upbringing, right? And it's like you didn't ever want to give up, which is admirable. Um, but it's also, it affected you detrimentally. And so, coming from a established relationship, we are now at a point where I'm just going to say outside forces have no room in our relationship, even outside opinions. Um, if I need advice from my dad, I can ask my dad, right? My dad and mom don't know our problems, right? We don't discuss it with them. Um, but we also have a sense of maturity in our relationship as well. I mean, it's like everybody, us and everybody, we'll just say in-laws in general, everyone's had some point of growth. And so, um, there's been an improvement without our influence. You know what I mean? But as far as in-laws go, I mean, my biggest issue, I was a kid, but I lived in judgment. I mean, my whole life I judged everybody. And I didn't realize it until, you and I got together. And I know you made a comment when we very first started dating. I made fun of a car that a kid was driving. And it hurt you so bad that you wanted to leave me. You wanted to break up.
Yeah, I was like, um, did he just reveal his heart to me?
Yeah.
And you did. And I'm like, how is he going to view my family? Like, that's the type of car that my family drives, and I wanted to protect my family so much because that's who I was.
Yeah, well, and again, I've learned that from you. And so it's like I didn't realize the judgment that I lived in, how judgmental I was
And it
until
hurt, like, because, like, for me, I saw if you're judging yourself that way. And so I would see this constantly in your family of the judgment that they had for themselves. And then it was projecting on other people. And that it just hurts my heart. And I, I felt like I wanted to fix your family, wanted us to fix them. Like, there's a other way. You can't, just like I want to do with my family. Like, you don't have to judge people this way. And the only reason why you're doing this is because you've got to be really hard on yourself. How are you treating yourself? And I think it was heartbreaking for me. And I was truly going to break up with you over it.
yeah, I mean that was that was my problem. And we're talking about in-laws as well. We're not just talking about the negative impact of outside, overstepping boundaries, but me overstepping boundaries as well. I mean, it's like I judged your whole family. I made assumptions, right? I didn't fully grasp or take this situation seriously. And so it's like I hurt them too, just because I didn't understand or I didn't care to understand. And so it's like, there's boundaries that were crossed, with very often within our relationship from, in-laws or my family or whatever, right? And we know now that that's not anything we should have dealt with, right? And so you're talking about walking away. And I want to make sure that, we explain that, right? What does walking away look like?
So I depleted myself first. I had fears of walking away because I was very scared that you were going to require me to walk away from my family. And in my perception, it's like they need me. How are they going to survive without me? They need me. And so because you would constantly call me out like, well, you take on this with your family, you accept this by your family, Why aren't you accepting it of mine? And so I had this battle where it's like, okay, I've got to pour myself into his family too. And because if he requires us to walk away from them, he might require me to walk away from my family. And I'm not ready to hurt that way. I'm not ready to allow them to go through their own pain without me there because I had a savior complex. Well, me staying in that type of environment, one, I was setting the tone for how they could treat me. And if I would have walked away, that would have been a response. That would have shown that, no, you can't treat me this way. I do not deserve this. And what you say is untrue. It's hurtful. You're very intentional with the hurt. And I don't have to take this. But it would have hurt too bad for me in that moment to walk away. So I wanted to control it. I wanted to control everything because I didn't want to hurt, because I feel things so deeply and I didn't want to give up on them. I felt like walking away was giving up.
Well, and your personality is you sacrifice your own well-being for other people. And, you know, it took me a while to accept that because for me it was frustrating. You know, put yourself in my shoes when you have a spouse who's just getting trampled on.
Yeah.
And won't take your advice, won't let you help them.
Well, I had this perspective of you that you were very unkind and that you were and that you were mean. Yeah. I did. Yeah. Remember? Like, I really did. And
so how do you feel about that now?
If I would have allowed you to protect me, I would not have had to deal with so much hurt in my 20s. If I would have allowed you to just lead me, it was your family.
I knew what was best.
I know.
And
I didn't believe you.
But you know it now.
Yeah. How dumb of me.
Oh, you're right. No, so... And, you know, when I mean walk away, you know, from my perspective. When you talk about walk away from the disrespect.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's like you can have a relationship with somebody, and the minute they respect you, you know what, I'm not going to deal with this.
You mean disrespect you?
When they disrespect you.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
And you walk away, I'm not going to deal with this.
Yeah.
In a very mature response, right? Because I know in our, you were very reactional.
So they're like, catch me outside. Yeah. We're going to the streets.
And it was
we're fighting.
You know, it was full-blown rage, right? And rightfully so. You were hurt. But then the reaction just poured gasoline. I mean, a lot of your pain was, I'm not going to say it's self-inflicted because you never, ever intentionally caused any sort of confrontation, fight, nothing at all. Nothing was caused by you. It was an immediate reaction to what was said to you. And somebody could have said something not very respectful, and they would have got this outrageous reaction. Somebody could have smacked you in the face. It got the same exact reaction. And so your reaction was exactly the same no matter what.
It was very extreme.
It was extreme.
But it's like one of the hard things, and I see this so often, that people will focus on people's reactions and not what they did to hurt that person. But what happens is when I reacted, I gave my power away. And so instead of leaving that room open for them to think, gosh, that was unkind for me to say, if I could have just looked at them or walked away, they would then have to look inwards and see what they did wrong. But instead, they didn't. Now I just gave them an out that they don't have to take accountability for what they did, and just to focus on my reaction. And now I look like the crazy one.
Yep.
And
well, you know, it didn't help the situation. It's like, had you of you know what, I don't have to deal with this, and walked away. And I'm not, we're not going back to woulda, coulda, shoulda, right? We're talking about, the effect on walking away, right? In-laws coming in. I could have a relationship with someone in my family or I could be cordial with someone in my family that I'm not a fan of. They may be disrespectful at times. I can be around them. But the second that they disrespect me or disrespect you, we don't have to deal with that. And no one ever can tell you you have to deal with disrespect. And there's been times that I've heard with, just other people's family that there's a wicked way of thinking that, oh, well, he's just broken, or, we'll get through it, instead of, you know what, you don't need to deal with this. And so, my advice, and I think we've kind of talked about this, is don't deal with disrespect. However, as a man, right, it's my responsibility to protect you. It's my responsibility to make that call, right? It's more difficult when it's your family, right? But it's like, as a man, we want to make sure that our spouse is not disrespected. It don't matter who it is. And so it's like, you could have this relationship with your family, right, that I'm not used to.
Mm-hmm.
My family could look at you the wrong way, and I'm like, hey, well, what the hell? You don't talk, you don't act that way. And then your family could call you a bitch, right? And I'm like, what did you just say? But me trying to protect you in that situation can cause more problems for you. And that was a issue that I struggled with in our relationship, right? Your current situation with your, family was heartbreaking. It was broken, right? And there was a lot of disrespect that I took just so I didn't have to cause more problems for you, right? Because you were just trying to survive. Now, looking back on that, had I been justified to stand up for me or you? Yeah, I would have been, right? Like I said, disrespect is not welcome in our relationship. Now we're talking about judgment. Well, a lot of my opinions were based on judgment, right? There was no understanding. Had I have sat with you and discussed the current situation, right? Discussed my problems I'm having and listening to your feedback as to what's going on, well, I think I would have had a little bit more understanding and, I don't guess acceptance, but just been a little bit more gentle, right?
Yeah, I felt like you were really, really harsh about it. And also, I struggled with communicating to you what I was feeling inside because I would always suppress my feelings and I didn't know how to communicate, like literally anything. I really did not. And in return, I would just stay silent and not even do anything and just take it, And if I would have said, my little brother or my little sister doesn't have food, and this is the way that it's affecting me, and this is why I can't leave because I'm the only source of how they're going to be fed. But I kept all of that from you because I always kept my life a secret. No one ever expected of what I was going through or what my siblings were going through. And my family looked up to you so much too, and I don't know. It was hard. It was a lot of harshness that just came from you and your family
At a young age.
And I didn't know how to deal with it.
That was tough.
Because I am not a harsh person. And
so where are we now? Where are we now with outside influence? Through our trial and error, what do we believe? What are boundaries? When is it time to walk away? What's acceptable? What's not?
Well, I never ever want to put a wedge between me and someone else, but learning my boundaries is what it has done for me is allow me to communicate honestly how I feel in a situation. And that knowing and being an example for our son, that a healthy way to communicate. So, for instance, you saw something that was really unhealthy for me, treatment that I was receiving, actually really unhealthy for our family in general. And you said, it is time for you to walk away. And I couldn't even fathom how I could do that and how I'm going to survive emotionally from doing that. People are going to talk. What are they going to think of me? They're going to think I'm unkind. I've had this huge issue with people thinking I'm an unkind person. I'm not a nice person. And because that would hurt me deeply if someone thought that I wasn't nice. And you just looked at me and said, just trust me. This is what we need to do. It was kind of like, in some way, I just needed you to take control because I was absolutely losing control. And once I let go and I allowed you to just lead our family without trying to take care of it myself, but still communicating, okay, this is going to be really hard. Babe, I just unfriended this person and I am feeling this way. And you would talk to me through these feelings, like exactly how I was feeling. And you would just let me talk it out instead of holding it in. And ever since then, I have been way more at peace. I have a voice and I'm not afraid to communicate how I feel now to you, to anyone else. And I'm not afraid to lose people. So if they walk out of our life or we have to make the decision to cut them out of our life, then I'm okay with that.
But how easy is that decision? It's easy now. You know,
I feel like it's necessary now. Yeah, I won't even entertain.
well, and the hostility doesn't get an opinion, right? And so, let's say you have a sister-in-law or a sister that's disrespecting your wife or something like that. We know what that relationship means. The brother and sister bond and all that. But,
and then especially after me losing my brother.
Sure, but it's not disrespecting your wife, it's disrespecting you. And so this is a double whammy. And so, this is my sanctuary. My home is and when I mean my home, I mean my family. This is why I'm here, to provide, to protect, to teach, to influence.
Mm-hmm.
No one's coming in between that. Okay. And so, I'm at a position now, and Desi is too, that no one's going to win. I mean, I have my peace and I have my marriage, which is sacred. I mean, it's not up for negotiation. And so, you've had a big year this year, with learning, inner peace and letting go and personal healing, deep healing that has just been absolutely amazing, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is not something I'm willing to risk, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like,
and thank you.
and we have we have great relationships, right? With our in-laws and stuff like that. But there's certain times that, you just feel that uneasiness, right? And we're listening to that. Luckily, I've got great mom and dad. I mean, they are judgment free. If I tell them I am not okay going to this event, okay, let us know if there's anything we can do for you. They don't ever make me feel bad, right? They don't. They're really good now, for us, and we don't really have to do that often anymore, right? It's like we're at a point now where the peace that you've built within yourself is a new foundation for your own emotional well-being. And so,
Well, I didn't have an identity. And I kind of touched on this before. And this was one of the big things. Even though I had this deep relationship with God, I was looking at really your family to show me who I was. And so anything that they would say about me, I would believe, and um, I found who I am,
yeah.
and I'm not apologizing for who God created me to be, and that's who I am. And it's been amazing to be able to heal. And our parents have been our biggest supporters in our relationship. They knew and saw something in our relationship and knew that this was a forever thing. And I think, honest to God, I think everyone did, and they were intimidated by that. And because the people that you were close to, you wanted to protect me as much as you could from the outside influence because you knew this much, that was going on in my life, and you didn't want other people to get involved and make it worse for me. So they didn't understand our story.
Well, and had I have taken control a long time ago, right, you probably wouldn't be as hurt as you have been, right? I mean, I would
So
have
why
had to.
didn't you take control? What was it that
Because
kept
I
you?
trusted you. I mean, your spiritual compass was always right, and I allowed you to take that position in our relationship. And I do feel like we shouldn't have changed anything, right? I feel like we went through what we went through for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
But had I had known, right, and had I just stuck to my guns, right, it just would have, we probably would have left the first year. I mean, I was in a duplex. What, the first year we were dating?
Mm-hmm. I was a senior.
Yeah, we moved out because of
In
the
high school.
horrible,
Yeah.
And again, we're kids. It was a tough dynamic moving you in with a established family, and
Yeah.
everyone's got their problems, so
Yeah.
it was not easy. But we moved out, but we kept coming back, and that was kind of at your trust me, and I think a lot of it had to do with your upbringing, and so was there some mistakes made? Yeah, there was a lot, and I do feel like and even if we started dating when we were 24, right?
I don't even remember when I was 24.
Yeah, well, let's fast forward, 10 years, 12 years. We're talking a whole different ball game, right? A whole different maturity level. We have already have a life somewhat established, right? Individually. But kind of where we are now, right, is this is my home. And no one's gonna upset that. I don't care who they are, right? I mean, at a point now, I don't care to make people cry. I don't care to hurt feelings. I'm not going to go and intentionally hurt somebody. But I think you had an example. Someone messaged you about, was it a sister-in-law or a sister of?
It was her sister-in-law.
Yeah, her sister-in-law.
I actually get often on how do people deal with their in-laws, because you really you I I think most people, they just want to be accepted and loved,
Mm-hmm.
and they also want to give that acceptance, and they want to love those people as well.
Well, and they want the security of their spouse too. So they want to know that the spouse knows that, hey, that wasn't okay. They want, someone to validate their feelings.
Well, I think I've always had this deep understanding that life is so short, and I never ever wanted to come in between your family relationships, because one day they could be here, one day they could be gone. And
But was that a accurate way of thinking? Were you really coming in between me or my family?
I was not.
You weren't.
No,
See, that's
what
the
was
problem.
doing is I was shining light on some darkness, and it was hard to deal with.
And they were disrespecting my girlfriend.
Yes.
Okay. So there is no wedge, and that's, I think, very important for people to understand that if you're being disrespected, you don't have to take that in any form, right? And if you not accepting respect causes conflict, that's not caused by you, right? I mean, it's like, everybody wants to be accepted. And I know that was big for you when early on in our relationship, even yesterday. But
what do you mean yesterday?
well, I'm just saying, like, you love to be accepted. You love when people love you. Like, you love when, if someone just to tell you, Desiree, you are such an incredible woman, it means so much to you.
Babe, that actually makes me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, at surface. But it's like, through our relationship, right? The acceptance, you fought for it. Just love me. Just accept me. And it's like, when you're a new, I'm not going to say spouse, but when you're a new person in a family dynamic, right? Let's say I start dating you. You come meet my family. There's a new dynamic there, right? I mean, you have a family that loves me, and they don't know you from anybody else, right?
Yeah.
So there's already immediate judgment sometimes, right? But it's like, you're talking about this example with this sister-in-law, right? It's like, well, how do you handle the sister-in-law that's overstepping boundaries? And it's like, well, first of all, you need to understand that your sister-in-law doesn't need to like you. Okay? You want her to. And you're not going to be rude just to be rude. You want to build that relationship. But if you're this kind person and the other party's not, is it on you? It's not. And so it's like, you don't need to prove yourself. You don't need to justify yourself. You don't need to justify your worth. You don't need to have this yelling match with the sister-in-law. What is your problem with me? I haven't done this. I haven't done that. I haven't done this. You don't need to engage in that, right? You know who you are.
Yeah. And I think too, where people come from, the backgrounds that I've come from, you want to control, because you don't want the pain. And like for me, I wanted to control why I would think that this is even possible, but wanted to control how they perceived me. But they are perceiving me however, what eyes they're looking through, their past, whatever, that's how they're perceiving me. It doesn't mean that it's the truth about me. And so for what I did, like this year, what I did was I wrote a letter to God, and I asked him to reveal who I was. And I found my identity in him and my purpose in him, and not from the outside world. And I'm okay with being misunderstood now. I know the truth of who I am. And I take accountability for my actions. Even if I can't see it, I swear I still will take accountability. Like, it hurts my heart to know if someone is hurting because of something I did or didn't do, and well, yeah.
Well, it's like in communication. I mean, we're all adults. My advice would be communicate maturely as to, what's bothering you, right? Because I feel like the relationship between sister-in-law, brother-in-law, within a dynamic should be somewhat important. It's your sister, it's your brother. It should be important to me to build rapport in a relationship with them. So, but I feel like, you do your part. You don't have control of the other party. So you communicate respectfully, hey, this is bothering me. I just really feel like you're being hard on me. I really want to be your friend. How do we fix this? Right? How they respond is how they respond. And it's like, if it's disrespect from that conversation on, you don't have to tolerate that. But it also comes from the spouse as well, right? So if I had a sister and you felt some animosity or some conflict and you sat her down and said, I love you so much. I feel like this is going on. It's bothering me. I don't want to feel like this anymore. Mm-hmm. And sister says, you're being dramatic. You're making this about you, or blah, 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 and goes and tells me. And I come to you and say, what's wrong with you? Where's the problem lie? Mm-hmm. Right? Who am I supposed to be supporting? Because I should know you better. Mm-hmm. I should know you better than that. And so it's like, no, she didn't. It didn't happen, right? But we've also had this conversation, right? You came from the childhood of you defend somebody no matter what, if they're right and wrong. I came from a childhood where you defend what's right. So there's been times we've gotten arguments because you're wrong. You know what I mean? And it's like, I'm not going to pamper you. I'm not going to sit here and verify your feelings because you're wrong. And that has built, I feel like, within the in-law dynamic, that has built some sort of third-party respect.
Yeah, because my family would be like, okay, Desiree, you're too nice. I do not trust what I feel like you're just sugarcoating it. So what does Adam have to say about it?
Yeah, well, it's like, and I expect the same. I mean, it's like, I know you love me and you're going to protect my image, and being embarrassed is the worst thing for me. Mm-hmm. I hate being embarrassed. But if I'm wrong.
Remember that time in the grocery store where I was dancing in the aisle and I embarrassed you so bad and I legit could not understand how that was embarrassing? We were in Bashes. And it was like a big thing. And you were so embarrassed, and I'm like, there's literally nothing wrong with me dancing. I don't know, that just popped in my head, but it is
squirrel.
Yeah, you hate to be embarrassed. I will not address you in front of people. I will address you behind closed doors.
We have a great dynamic, and because you're no longer reacting, I don't address you in front of people anymore.
Yeah.
But it's like, I feel like it's important that, it's my duty to you and your duty to me to keep each other going straight, on the straight and narrow, what's right. And I always want to defend what's right. Sometimes I'm wrong. And so I expect you to tell me, hey, you're wrong. Mm-hmm. So I can, I will think about it, right? Okay, well, she says I'm wrong. There's a reason for it. Our moral compass, our right and wrong is right on the same page that, okay, what did I do? And so we can think about it. But I feel like, right, my opinion is this in-law dynamic is you need to stand up for what's right. Because not all the time are our spouses right. But we don't disrespect. And so
I'm always right, even if you say I'm wrong.
Yeah, okay. That's women, right? And so, don't be afraid to walk away. And again, by walking away, I don't mean indefinitely. I mean,
have enough respect
if you
for
show
yourself.
up to dinner and someone says something or rolls their eyes, you're perfectly justified to turn around and go home. And if something comes of that, that's not on you. You don't need to, you don't deserve that.
Yeah, like don't be like me and be like, oh, so why'd you just roll your eyes? And then cause a whole scene.
Yeah, I'd be Miss, She-Hulk and try to go all batshit.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we don't do that, though.
We don't do that anymore. Okay, I think we got to button up now, but...
Yeah, so, I mean, guys, I'll leave you with this. Husbands, wives, your relationship is sacred. And no one can come in between that. I mean, that is my firm belief. And you need to understand that. And you need to accept that to a core, that you're willing to hurt whoever. Because at the end of the day, people come and go. If you have this dynamic with your spouse and you have this beautiful family, this peace that you've built over years. I'm not going to say it's owed to you, but you've built it. And so all that hard work pays off, and no outside force should be able to, to disrupt that. So I'll leave you guys with that. I don't know, you want to leave them with something?
Just thank you for watching, and hopefully this will lead to some more questions that we could dive even deeper and answer some more stuff. But thank you so much for being here with us.
Guys, thank you so much. If you have any questions, give us a call.
A call?
Yeah, is our phone number in the list there? Don't we have phone numbers on our YouTube deal?
Just say comment.
Oh, comment.
Just give us a call. That's not realistic.
Yeah, leave us a comment. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, if you have any questions, leave us a comment. Comments are very important to us. That's kind of what we want to keep going with this podcast, is we're all struggling with different things. So give us something to discuss. I hope you guys like the episode, and we'll see you next time.